Well, we're back for another one. Good morning and welcome into another edition of Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN. I am your host, AJ Shaw. Glad to be with you again on this very chilly Saturday morning, expecting some really chilly conditions this weekend. I don't want to spend a lot of time getting through the formalities of the show because we have an interview here early this morning with Wamego girls basketball coach Brian McIntosh. But just quickly, our show is brought to you by WTC Communications. WTC, keeping you connected with the fastest fiber network, internet speeds. Get your home or business in the game online at WTCKS.com. That's WTCKS.com. I want to get into our conversation with Coach McIntosh early this morning. Really appreciate him joining us as his team picking up the 15-point win over Marysville. And, Coach, to start off, just take me through kind of what stood out to you from that ball game last night. You played a pretty good team in Marysville, and you're able to pick up the 15-point home victory.
Yeah, good morning, AJ. I thought we played really well in the second half. Marysville is very well coached, and they play extremely hard. I thought we came out a little bit flat in the first half. I didn't think we were as physical as we needed to be. We made some adjustments at halftime, and then I thought we came out and the girls played a lot more physical. We executed a lot better. Our half-court trap gave them some fits, and you put the ball in the hole, and that always helps, and held them to 10 points in the second half. And so I was pleased with our defensive effort in the second half and our execution as well.
Very solid games from Lee Winter and Bella Wilbur. Lee Winter leading the way with 12 points. Bella Wilbur, 10 points. And they really it was kind of a balanced attack for you overall offensively last night. No one really stood out in the scoring department, but really just overall it was a balanced night from a bunch of your players, Lexi Heck too, Kendall Mayer, a lot of those players for you as well.
Yes, and that's what we're after. I would love to have about 4 players averaging around 10 points a game. It's harder to guard you, and so that's kind of what we're after. And I thought we were pretty balanced last night. Leah has come in and she's played really, really well the last 3 games. She's knocking down her open shots. She's being more aggressive offensively. And defensively, she's keeping the ball in front of her a lot better than she had earlier in the season. So I've been really pleased with her. Bella Wilbur has just been solid for us all season. She's shooting almost 70% from the field. She went 5 of 6 last night. And so that's huge when you can have your post player down there finishing at a high level like that. And then, like you said, Lexi's just always there for us, and she's going to give us, anywhere from 10 to, 25 points, depending on how hot she gets. But last night, I thought she did a really good job of distributing the ball. I think she had 7 assists, but she also had 8 steals. So she gets everybody going. And, like you said, it was more of a balanced attack last night. And that's kind of what we're after.
Busy week indeed for you as well, because you had to play 3 games throughout the week because one of your games got postponed last week. How do you try to keep your team kind of composed in a busy week like that where they're playing multiple teams in multiple days?
Yeah, this is the second year in a row where you come back from Christmas break and you have a bunch of snow days. And so you're trying to keep them active. We can practice sometimes when it snows, and so it just makes it difficult because these games get moved. So we came back and played a game against Heston, who's an extremely good team in 3A, and took them into overtime. We lost, but we learned a lot. And then we had a week off before we played Clay Center, and they had a while, I think, to prepare for us because we would have been their first game back on a Monday. And then we turn around and we play Concordia on Tuesday, and then the game last night. So it's a lot of games in a short amount of period. With the Marysville game, it felt like had a lot of time to prepare in those 2 days because the other games we didn't have that much preparation. And so you just kind of got to roll with it and do the best you can and try to get kids ready and get film out and scouting reports. And so they feel ready as well. But I think we're at a good point right now. Our team, I really like who they're becoming. And I think we still have a high ceiling because we're so young. And, I think we're just going to continue to get better and better. Our schedule's been difficult, and that's what we wanted when we made it. And so, we'll go into the Salina tournament this week, and there's a lot of really good teams there. So hopefully it prepares you for postseason.
For sure, for sure. And you spoke about the Salina tournament. That was my next question. You've been in these situations before. Your team has seen these kind of situations before. How do you kind of prepare them for what you're going to see as you head into a tournament like that against some really good teams that you may not have a lot of experience with?
Yeah, I take it one game at a time as far as my preparation. But we're blessed with three really, really good assistants, Caden Vanderpool and Kirsty Miller and Tori Hubler. And two of them have played for me in some capacity in the past. And another one I've grown up with them. So they know me. They know what we need to do to prepare. And, I got on my computer early this morning and started looking at Salina Central, who we play. And, they've already got clips for me to look at for the next three games, depending on who we play. So, having good assistants really, really helps. So, it's nice to be able to get on there and start breaking things down. And I'll take a deep dive into our first game with Salina Central, and then I'll kind of let them look ahead. But, it's definitely a team effort. And when you have great assistants, it makes things a lot easier.
I know I always ask you about Lexi Heck during an interview, but, she's just that amazing of a talent that we have to, talk about just what she's able to do for you on the floor. And even though she may have not stood out in the scoring department last night, just her ability to stand out in different types of categories for you. 8 steals again, 7 assists, 3 rebounds. What makes her such a great defensive player?
Her anticipation. I mean, she has a very good feel for where the ball is going to go. And so we typically put her on maybe the other team's not one of their best players, but where she can kind of roam. She's like a free safety. She reads the eyes of the players, and she anticipates really well. And so that's where a lot of her steals come from. So she does a great job of that. And, she's a spark plug for us. I feel like when her energy is high and, she's locked in, and she does such a great job also of building up her teammates, and, giving them a pat when they need it or getting them excited. She's just a great teammate, and, we feed off of that, and people defend her a lot of different ways. She'll get face guarded and, they'll run junk defense at her. And so sometimes her numbers may not look great, but what she does outside of scoring is pretty special. And, she's one of the best individual players that, I've coached in high school. She's just a special talent. And, one of the best things about her is she doesn't mind to be coached hard because she wants to get better and she's hungry. And, her goal is to play at the next level. And I know she will. But she wants to continue to grow and get better, and she wants that feedback.
For sure. And Bella Wilbur, too, is another player who's really always been for you, especially the last couple of years. She's really stepped up into a leadership role for you and has been a key piece to your team's success as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she's an incredible athlete. She was like fourth in like the 400 in track, and she placed in long jump. I mean, she's just an incredible athlete. And so we really, really rely on her down there in the post defensively. And, you can tell when she's not in or she gets into foul trouble, the complexity of our defense changes because she's so special down there. And now this year, we've put a lot of emphasis on getting her the ball. And Kendall Mayer, our freshman who plays the floor for us, we put a lot of emphasis on getting them the ball. And it's paid off. Like I said, she's shooting almost 70% from the field. And, really, we've got to continue to find ways to get her the ball and get her the ball more because she is finishing so well at the basket.
For sure. Final question from me, Coach. What would you say is your team's identity so far this year?
Well, that's a great question. We're still working on it. We're so young, and there's such a learning curve there. we came into the season, we talked about being really tough and really together on the floor and united as a team. And I think that piece is really coming along here in the past week, just depending on each other and building each other up. And so I like where we're headed in that aspect. The toughness piece, I think, is still coming. There's signs of it, like in the second half last night. I think we beat them by 1 on the glass, but in the first half we got beat by 6 on the glass. And so that toughness piece of being tough defensively, keeping people in front of us, I think that's what they want to be known for. And I think they're getting there. We're not there yet, but that's the beauty of the season and how you develop over the course of the season. And like I said, I'm just excited. We're sitting at 6-3, but I like that 6-3 because we've learned a lot in those 3 losses, and we've learned a lot in those 6 wins.
For sure. Coach, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thanks so much for joining us earlier this morning, and hopefully we can talk more down the road this season.
Absolutely. Thank you, AJ. I appreciate it.
Of course. That's going to do it for our conversation with Coach Brian McIntosh. Coming up next, we'll recap last night's Manhattan High games. 2 very good games against a couple of really good teams against Topeka Hayden. We'll discuss more coming up next here on Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN. Back here on Scoreboard Saturday, News Radio KMAN. Of course, if you listen to the game on a regular basis, you know I'm on that show weekdays from 4 to 6 here on KMAN. And I made a brief announcement yesterday that next Friday will be my final day. This is not my final show of Scoreboard. I'm going to be doing one more. Next Saturday will be my final Scoreboard Saturday period. And it's really been an honor to be behind this microphone the last couple of years, getting an opportunity to talk to the great coaches in the area and report to you some of the great things going on with high school sports. Really, it has been a pleasure. And to say the least, I want to thank everyone. You've been so kind to me, this audience. When I started out, I was not that familiar. I'll admit it. I was not that familiar with a lot of high school teams in the area, but you've been so kind to me when it comes to, names that I've butchered terribly, because of course I have. And it's a somber moment for sure, but it's also been quite the pleasure to be behind this microphone speaking to you every Saturday morning, whether it be at 8 a.m. like most weeks, or if we have that occasional K-State early kickoff at 11 or 12, and we have to have ourselves on the air a little bit earlier. So it's always been a pleasure to get up and talk to you fine folks. It really made a joy out of my week, and I'm going to miss this place for sure. It's been an honor to get to be on this microphone, whether it be on this show or the game or Blueville or In Focus before we switched over to Within Reason with Mike Matson. And I'm definitely going to miss this place for sure. And it's where I kind of really started out my radio career. I'd actually worked at stations before, but this was kind of the first place where I really got my foot in the door, and I really have enjoyed it. And anyways, just figured I would let you all know. Some of you have heard that news, others haven't, but I really do appreciate the kind words from everybody that's come up to me this week and gave me best wishes for sure. Anyways, continuing now on the basketball front, Manhattan High. We usually get to them first, but wanted to get to Coach McIntosh early this morning. Really appreciate him joining us as always. It's always great to catch up with Coach from Wamego High School. Coming up later on in the program, we'll sit down with Trevor Keller, who is the new girls basketball coach at Rock Creek, his first season, and his team off to a very solid start. So we'll talk with Coach Keller in the final segment of the program this morning. Coming over from Wabaunsee this year is Coach. But last night, Manhattan High, a couple of really big games for the girls and the boys at Topeka Hayden, 2 of the top teams in the state in that one. The girls, unfortunately, fall in the end by 7, 54-47. The boys, however, well, they won a pretty thrilling matchup. And Cole Deutschendorf on the call for that one at Topeka Hayden.
Last night, Manhattan Lady Indians fell to the Hayden Wildcats in a classic, and we were treated to an equally as good game in the matinee as the Manhattan Indians beat the Topeka Hayden Wildcats 45-42 in a wild fourth quarter. First up, one of the two top 5 matchups all across the state, boys or girls, between the number 5 ranked in 6A Manhattan Lady Indians and the number 3 and 4A Hayden Wildcats. It was tied 40-40 heading into the fourth quarter. The Hayden was able to pull away late, winning that one 54 to 47. Manhattan was led by Delaney Larson, who scored 14 points as well as added a couple of charges. Cat Ball hit 4 threes with 13 points, and a couple of big threes by Bailey Bush helped keep the game close in the fourth quarter before Hayden Wildcats edged at the very end. Helped keep the game close in the fourth quarter before the Wildcats pulled away. She finished with 9 points before fouling out. Isabel Peabody scored the first 4 points of the game for Manhattan and finished with 7. Other scores included Kennedy Dodds with 2, Jorah Parcell with 2, and Avery Ingram with 1. The second game was just as good, if not better, than the first. It was a 11-0 run in the first quarter for the Manhattan Indians. They won that quarter 17-6 and lost the second quarter 10-8 before a 16-0 run for Topeka in that fourth quarter after trailing by 9 at the beginning of the quarter. But the game was not over as Sam Spiegel hit a huge corner 3 followed by a layup, and Noah McFadden hit the go-ahead 3 with 1 minute and 10 seconds left in the game, going up 1. 2 more Noah McFadden free throws later, and that's your final score, 45-42, as the Indians held on for dear life at the very end of the game. Manhattan girls fall to the Hayden Wildcats 54-47. Manhattan boys take down the Wildcats 45-42. For Scoreboard Saturday, I'm Cole Dutchendorf.
Appreciate Cole, of course, his first solo call last night, and did a very nice job. A couple of close nail-biters for sure, and it feels like it's been that way with Manhattan all year, whether it be the Will Carpenter buzzer beater, the game the prior week that they lost in the buzzer beater, the game last night. It just feels like Benji George's team has been in so many close matchups this year, but it's always come down to the wire for sure. And Manhattan's definitely going to get, obviously it's not going to be good for Coach George's heart or his stomach or anything like that, but it's good preparation, especially as you get late into the season, and that's key. And last night's game for sure was quite the wild one. Benji George, of course, after the game, had an opportunity to speak with Cole.
Coach, in a year full of some crazy fourth quarters, this was right up there with them. Just walk me through all of the emotions, the highs and the lows throughout that fourth quarter.
Man, this game had all of it. I mean, I loved the start. We were so ready to play. And, I'm proud of our guys for that, coming out to a 23-8 lead or something like that. And then it had all of it. It had a whole lot of ugliness. I know that. What they do is just so unique, and we hadn't seen it. Every possession is a different defense, it felt like. And odd fronts and even fronts, and they were mixing up their pressure, and it had us so confused. And I told the guys from the moment we were up 23-8 and all the ugliness after that, that's all on me. I mean, I have to coach them better and have them more prepared for that. We tried, but obviously I didn't do a good enough job getting them ready for that because we just turned the ball over way too much. But and our players were uncertain. But down 7 on the road, 3.5 minutes to go, backs against the wall to respond the way we did. I think that's huge for our team, and guys stepped up, made big shots, and we buckled down defensively and got some stops.
And especially in that situation, it was a 16-0 run out of the fourth quarter for Topeka Hayden. For you guys to put that all behind you, because it would be so easy at that point for you guys to get down. How were you able to keep that energy up and go on that 10-0 run to end the game?
Well, honestly, I think we've become, through all these tight games, we've become a lot more connected as a team. And that's helped. The players' voices, we were connected in and out of timeouts. They were frustrated for sure, but they kept with it. And we're developing some leadership, and and all of that helps. Their threads of togetherness showed up tonight, and we needed it. And there's something about this building. There's so many times we've come over here and played, and gotten a lead, and just in the second half things have gone south for us. And we've been in that kind of game before and not pulled out a victory over here. So, proud of our guys for that.
I want to talk about a specific moment. Corner, Sam Spiegel, down 7, hits a huge 3. And then also the next possession down for you guys on offense, hits that layup. How big was he down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, he picks and pops and shoots it really well in practice all the time, and everybody in our program knows he can shoot. He just hasn't gotten one through in a game, but I kind of knew it was coming, and he's now become a veteran varsity player, and I think the game slowed down a little bit for him, and boy, he picked a good moment for his first one. I know that, but he can do that. It just hasn't shown up in games as much. And then I thought Noah again. I probably sat him too long. Their fourth quarter, because I thought Henry gave good minutes too, but Noah stepped up, I thought, big time, just the way he's getting his hands on the ball defensively and getting rebounds and just coming up big for us.
And there were a couple of shots that Noah hit that I noticed he looked a lot more comfortable, I think, tonight than he did against Junction City. There was the one pull-up on the jumper in that first half, and then the three-pointer to take the lead, and then also 2 huge free throws. Missed those last 2. I give him a little grief for that, but made the first 2 that made it a 3-point game. How big was he?
Well, and he's a guy that he's starting to understand, I think, that things aren't always going to go his way. That he's going to get bumped and he's not going to get called a foul. And just he's doing a better job of playing his way through all that, whereas early on it became him against that situation, and there's just no winner when you have that mentality. And so I think he's doing a better job of just moving on from when things don't go his way. And I told him, too, I said, the more you defend and rebound, the less you're going to have to worry about scoring because things are just going to come to him. And I think he's starting to get there with that, too.
And any preliminary thoughts heading into the McPherson tournament?
I told him, we draw MAC at MAC, and, we're fighting for moments, and to play MAC at MAC in the kind of environment it's going to be in, it's going to probably come as close to resembling a Junction City type environment, and I think our guys are going to be ready for that and be excited and ready to go because we're going to be ready to face obviously as always a quality McPherson team.
What is it like playing in a building like the Roundhouse?
It's a good chance to teach our guys some of the history of basketball in Kansas. That's kind of the epicenter of basketball history in Kansas and the uniqueness of that gym. And you walk in and you see the banners, and it's an honor to play in that tournament. And in a lot of years, we played well in that tournament. And so, I think the guys will be engaged and be ready to go.
Well, Coach, congrats. We'll see you in McPherson.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Head coach Benji George with Cole after the game. Really appreciate those two sitting down for us here on Scoreboard Saturday, News Radio KMAN. And yeah, the Roundhouse next week, McPherson, Kansas, Manhattan High boys getting the McPherson tournament started off in one of the most historic meccas in the state of Kansas for high school basketball, the Roundhouse, which has seen so many great games over the years, so many great moments. And yeah, it's very similar to a Junction City. If you've ever been out there to the McPherson gym, it's very similar in that it's a big gym. It definitely gets loud in there, and the fans and the atmosphere definitely play a role. When you're on the road and you get down 5, 6, 7 points in the fourth quarter, you start to sweat a little bit. You start to wonder, uh-oh, not good, because of the impact that those fans play in that ball game. But Manhattan High in a pretty good position after that win, and now they head to the McPherson tournament. And really, you go 2-1, 3-0 in that tournament, you put yourself in a pretty good position as you hit the stretch drive going back into Centennial play at the end of January and into February for sure. As for the Manhattan girls, losing to Topeka Hayden, not ideal, but you're sitting in a pretty good position as the season continues on. Unfortunately, did not get the interview from Scott Mall. I'm assuming there were some issues there getting that sent over. But regardless, we'll hear from Coach most likely next week. As his team has a week off before their tournament gets underway in a couple of weeks. They'll be heading out, of course, for their tournament 2 weeks from now in McPherson. They'll have their tournament coming up a little bit later. I did want to mention that Topeka High game that was supposed to be played last Friday night, that game has been moved now to Wednesday, February 5th. That'll be a 6 o'clock tip for the girls' game, and then the boys, of course, will come after that. Probably around 7:30 that evening is when that game will get underway. But the girls will actually have one more game next week, and that'll be against Blue Valley Stillwell, and we'll have that game for you here on K-Man. Mitch Fortner will have the call for that one in the Little Apple here in Manhattan. Coming up next, we'll go around the rest of the region, get you some of the scores from last night's games, as well as preview some of the matchups that we'll see from the Twin Valley League tournament that's starting actually today. We'll look at that tournament out in Frankfort. And then later on, of course, Trevor Keller from Rock Creek joins us in the final segment. We continue in a moment on Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN. Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by WTC Communications. WTC, keeping you connected with the fastest fiber network internet speeds. Get your home or business in the game online at WTCKS.com. That's WTCKS.com. AJ Shaw once again with you on this Saturday morning. Trevor Keller, the Rock Creek girls coach, is joining us in our next segment. Big sports weekend for you here on News Radio KMAN. Coming up in the 11 o'clock hour is pregame coverage of K-State men's basketball, the Sunflowers Showdown Part 1 from Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence. K-State taking on KU, and I know a lot of the great people out here in Manhattan are going, oh, blank. Because, yes, oh, blank. Ideally, this is the worst time of year for K-State at this part of the season where they're playing KU. Oh, and it happens to be an Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence with students getting back in from winter break. Oh, beep, 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 beep. Anyways, yeah, not ideal. But we'll have pregame coverage for you at 11 a.m. with tip at noon. And then at around 2 o'clock, we're going to dump out of that and get you right into Chiefs playoff football as they take on the Texans today. Kansas City beginning their quest for a third straight Super Bowl, never done before in the history of the National Football League. It's the only professional league we've not seen a three-peat in, and we haven't seen a team three-peat in pro sports since the Los Angeles Lakers in 2000, 2001, and 2002 in the NBA. Then later tonight, after the Chiefs game, we'll join in progress with Westwood 1. Washington and Detroit, the Commanders against the Lions at around about 7 o'clock tonight, maybe a little bit later depending on when the Chiefs wrap up, but we'll join that game in progress, the first of the NFC divisional playoff tilts. Then tomorrow, K-State women's basketball against Arizona State. Pre-game coverage gets started at 12:30 here on K-Man with tip at 1. We'll then join in progress with the Rams and the Eagles later on when that game comes to a conclusion. And then finally later tomorrow evening, we'll get the final divisional round playoff game of the weekend for you here on K-Man. Baltimore against Buffalo, which I think will be the best game of the weekend. And it's going to be a cold one up there in Buffalo. Snow expected. I think I read somewhere that it's going to be 11 degrees at kickoff. Yeah, it's going to be a chilly one in upstate New York as the Ravens and the Bills get going tomorrow evening. About 5 o'clock will be when that game gets underway. So, yeah, busy weekend for you on K-Man. Of course, then on Monday, we'll have the national championship game for you between Ohio State and Notre Dame. We'll have that for you here on K-Man after Wildcat Insider comes to a conclusion late in the afternoon for you on Monday. So, yeah, next 3 days, very busy sports days. Oh, and also, we're swearing in a president. So, yeah, it's quite a busy few days for sure. And, yeah, quite a few historical milestones being set with Monday's inauguration. It's going to be the first inauguration indoors since 1985 when Ronald Reagan was sworn in for the second time as President-elect Trump, the 45th and now 47th president, will be sworn in for a second non-consecutive time. First president that's happened to since Grover Cleveland. So, yeah, busy few days up ahead for us in the sports world and in America. I want to get to some other scores from across the area last evening for you. First, we'll start off with some of the girls' games. Washburn Rural, the Junior Blues, taking down Emporia by a final of 55-24. Washburn Rural picking up the 31-point victory. Topeka High downs Junction City at home 80-33. That wasn't even close. A 47-point win for the Trojans. St. Mary's Bears go on the road. The Lady Bears defeating Royal Valley by 14, 51-37. Rossville taking down Perry Lecompton on the road, 53-44. Topeka West defeating Casey Turner by a final of 67-37. Highland Park beating J.C. Harmon by a final of 61-10. And Nemaha Central defeating Holton by a final score of 42-20, the final score in that ball game, as they get the job done on the at home last night. Nemaha Central does, picking up the victory. Riley County girls, meanwhile, they get a win on the road at Sabetha. The final in that one, Riley County 47, Sabetha 18. The final score in that one, as the Falcons get it done. Kelsey Nelson's team gets it done. As for boys' games last night, Junior Blues, the Washburn Rural Junior Blues getting the victory 42-28 over Emporia. Junction City, Nick Perez's team remains unbeaten. They take down Topeka High on the road 69-46. St. Mary's getting the victory over Royal Valley 68-54. Wamego boys beating Marysville in a very tight ball game by 5, 57-52. Good game between Perry Lecompton and Rossville. The Cause get it done, a 59-50 victory over Rossville. Topeka West downing KC Turner 63-41. Nemaha Central wins it by 21 points. Final score in that one, 59-38 over Holton. And Highland Park wins by 70, 91-21 over J.C. Harmon. A big win for both Highland Park, the girls and the boys teams last evening. One of my favorite tournaments of the year, by the way, starting today in the Twin Valley League, and I want to go through some of these games really quick, but the Twin Valley League tournament getting underway in Frankfort. It's been there many, many years. I actually had the privilege to call several of those games a few years ago with another station that I worked at, and it was a real pleasure to get to work those games because it's always an intense tournament. Some of the games coming up later today, if they do have the games, hopefully they do, that this cold weather doesn't affect many teams. But Axtell girls against Washington County coming up at 10 a.m. later this morning. And you got Blue Valley and Frankfort, Brian Ebert's team, we talked to last week, playing Blue Valley Randolph, another one of our area teams. Kaylee Inez will face off with Brian Ebert. So maybe we'll reach out to those coaches and see how those games played out later today. And then Valley Heights against Onega. That's coming up at 1 o'clock. So if you're out in Frankfort this morning, why don't you stop by one of those by the school and watch some of those games, because those games are really fun. Coming up on Monday, a few games to keep an eye on. Centralia, they'll play the winner of the Axtell Washington County game. Donovan West will play Lynn. That's a 3:15 tip. Hanover will play either Blue Valley or Frankfort, and Clifton Clyde will play either Valley Heights or Onega. Over on the boys' side of things, Donovan West and Onega set to get underway at 11:30 this morning. Meanwhile, Lynn and Valley Heights playing at the same time, and Frankfort and Washington County in a 6-11 matchup will play at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Hanover, the top seed, will play either Donovan West or Onega on Monday night. Clifton Clyde will play Blue Valley Randolph on Monday afternoon. Axtell will play either Lynn or Valley Heights, and Centralia will play either Frankfort or Washington County. So definitely some games to keep an eye on. And again, if you're out in the Frankfort area, go check those games out for sure. They're always fun to keep an eye on. Coming up next, we have the privilege to speak with Trevor Keller, head coach of the Rock Creek Girls, his first season with the Rock Creek Girls basketball program. We'll talk with Coach next here on Scoreboard Saturday on News Radio KMAN. Final segment of the program, News Radio KMAN. Yeah, I get fired up when I hear Mitch Holtis. We had Mitch on the show on Wednesday on the game, and Manhattan, KC getting their playoff run started against Houston later today, and we'll have it for you right here on News Radio KMAN. Really excited to be joined for the first time on Scoreboard Saturday by Trevor Keller. He's the new girls basketball coach at Rock Creek, coming over from Wabaunsee, and his team off to a very nice start at 5-1. They got the road victory over Chapman last night. And Coach, to start off, just tell us a little bit about yourself. This is your first year. You're coming over from Wabaunsee High. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you out to Rock Creek.
Yeah, so I spent 5 years at Wabaunsee as the head coach there of their girls program, and we actually live kind of in the Rock Creek School District. So I was driving from our house down to the gym down there, and the opportunity opened up, and I applied and was fortunate enough to get the job.
So tell us a little bit about. So I'm assuming you played basketball growing up. You kind of got yourself. So kind of tell us a little bit about your playing career and then what got you into coaching.
Yeah, so I grew up in western central Kansas, just right outside of Great Bend. Played at a 1A high school. Was fortunate enough to play in a couple of state tournaments, and so just always was passionate about basketball. And then right after college, knew that I wanted to be in education so that I could coach, and was able to be an assistant coach at Royal Valley on the boys' side for a year. And then after that year, applied for the Wabaunsee job, and like I said, I was there for 5 years as a head coach on the girls' side, and was able to go to a couple of state tournaments there, and then, like I said, got the Rock Creek job this year.
So, what would you say is your main coaching philosophy?
Yeah, I'm a competitive guy. We want to compete, and just I know it's cliche, but we really want to work to get 1% better, no matter where we're at. to start the season. We always talk with our groups about wanting to play our best basketball in late February, early March. And so we're just really trying to be consistent and coming in every day and working to improve.
For sure. So let's talk a little bit about your team. Off to a very solid start at 5-1. You beat Clay Center earlier this week, and then last night you go on the road to take on the Fighting Irish of Chapman, and you pick up the victory 49-35. Early on in the season, what would you say has been your team's philosophy?
Yeah, we talk a lot about wanting to win the paint. We want to take away the paint from other teams. We don't want them to get paint touches or downhill drives against us, and then we want to do the exact opposite on offense. We want to get paint touches, and we want to get downhill and attack the rim and play inside out there. So that's a really big key for us. And then we want to get out in transition too. We want to get fast break points and get out in transition. And Chapman did a good job of limiting those opportunities last night for us, but we were to kind of battle through and find a way to win.
So you would definitely say that your team tries to pride themselves on the defensive side of the ball. Would you say that's an accurate statement?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right, then. Talk to me about some of the players that have really stood out for you early in the season.
Yeah, I would say Brenda Zeller is a junior for us this year. She didn't play last year, but having her go out this year has been a really big bright spot for us. She gives us a post presence that can also step outside and attack the rim. She was huge against Clay Center on Tuesday. She had 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 blocks, and added a couple of assists and a couple steals in there as well. So a massive stat line for her there. We had 2 sophomores that start for us, and Lucy Martini and Kylie Frazee, and they're becoming more consistent every day, handling the ball for us. And then we have another junior that starts for us, and Ellie Prather, and she adds length and athleticism and is able to defend multiple positions and go and get rebounds for us. And then our other starter is a senior guard, and Hadley Rimpey, and she can shoot the heck out of the ball. She can handle it for us, and she's a consistent presence. And then we bring a senior off the bench along with 3 other sophomores. So we're pretty young when we have 2 seniors in our rotation.
So you run about 9 deep each game. So you definitely get a lot of players out there that are getting touches for you on a regular basis. At your first year at Rock Creek, what's kind of stood out to you about the competition playing in the North Central Kansas League, a very competitive league with a lot of great teams?
Yeah, you said it. It's a battle every night. Chapman didn't have the best record going into the game, but we're only up by 4 in the fourth quarter. So you can throw the records out no matter who you're playing in the league. It's going to be a battle. A lot of teams, I feel like, other coaches will probably tell you the same thing, major defensive philosophy and emphasis on it. And so, you just got to figure it out as you go through the game.
Yeah, we just talked with Brian McIntosh, who's the girls basketball coach at Wamego earlier on in the program, and it's a very similar philosophy for sure. Defense is definitely one of those things. You see it with a lot of the teams. That's the big focus, and it keeps the games competitive for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. When teams are able to really lock you down, you just got to find ways to score and get yourself to the free throw line and just find a way to get those transition opportunities and attack pressure and all those different things.
So coming up next weekend, you'll be playing a tournament at Royal Valley, and then you have a couple of big games after that with Silver Lake and Wamego at home. We'll get to those those last 2 in just a second. But as you head into Royal Valley, it's your first tournament with your team. Kind of, how are you getting your girls prep for this tournament, and kind of how are they getting ready, I guess is my question, as they get ready for this tournament next weekend at Royal Valley?
Yeah, so the Royal Valley tournament is kind of unique. So we play Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So 3 games in a row. Not your traditional Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, which is kind of exciting, actually. It kind of sets you up for the state tournament. A little pre-look at having to play 3 games back to back to back. I actually, when I coached at Wabaunsee, we went to the Royal Valley tournament, so I'm very familiar with
big rival of Wabaunsee, too.
What's that?
Big rival of Wabaunsee, too.
Yeah, and so we when we played in that Royal Valley tournament, familiar with that, and they actually went to the Flint Hills League tournament. So Rock Creek took their spot, and so we'll be playing Santa Fe Trail, and Royal Valley and Chapman again. So yeah, we played Chapman last night, and then we turn around and play them on Friday this coming week. So we kind of go back to back with them, with one game in between there. So yeah, we're excited about the opportunity. Get a couple practices in early in the week, and then go play 3 games in a row.
Yeah, and obviously trying to keep your players fresh is going to be a key thing too, because obviously not a lot. You don't play a lot of back-to-backs. You may get a back-to-back here and there, but for the most part, you're not playing 3 games in a row on most of your schedule.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I was talking about. The state tournament look a little bit there, with no time off. Yeah, so just want to be light, have quick walkthroughs, whether that's after school or on that Saturday morning, and just emphasize the scouting report, highlight a few things, and then just let your team go play basketball. We talk all the time that we as coaches love practice, and the players obviously love the game. So they should be pretty fired up to be able to play 3 games in a row and not have to go through any practices in between.
I wanted to ask you really quick about the shot clock. That's been a new addition this year across most of the leagues, in case Centennial League up here in Manhattan not using it, but the NCKL is. How has your team been kind of able to adjust to it this year?
Yeah, for us, the way that we want to play, wanted to play fast, it really hasn't impacted us. To be honest, I don't think that we as a team have had a shot clock violation through 6 games. We want to get downhill and play fast and get shots up and get up and down. We have been able to force other teams into a couple shot clock violations. Teams that don't have it at their place and playing at our place, maybe it's a little bit different for them. But honestly, it hasn't impacted the game tremendously to this point.
Gotcha. Well, Coach, it was a pleasure getting to meet with you this morning. We really appreciate the time, and good luck to your team the rest of the way this season. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate it. That's going to do it for another edition of Scoreboard Saturday here on News Radio KMAN. Really appreciate Coach Trevor Keller joining us, the new girls basketball coach out at Rock Creek High School, as well as Brian McIntosh earlier in the show. The Kim Commando Show will follow us here on this Saturday. We'll be back, of course, next week. The final time I will be behind this microphone, period, for News Radio KMAN and, of course, Scoreboard Saturday. It's been a hell of a run, and we really appreciate everything that the great coaches and, of course, the great listeners have given us. Commando Show following us, K-State basketball at 11. Have a great weekend, and go Cats.